Okay, so this equation. Let me know if this helps. So we have from the previous question above, you had the force of gravity on the planet. So here's a planet, and here's the moon, and the moon is going around the planet. And the reason it's going on the planet is because there's a force of gravity on it this way. At the same time, the moon has a sideways velocity, and the sideways velocity at the same time as the gravity makes it go in this circle. Obviously, we're going to call that an orbit. So the moon is orbiting the planet, and so the reason it's orbiting is because of this force of gravity, but because it's also going in a circle, we can refer to that force as a centripetal force. A centripetal force is any force that makes it an object go in a circle. So we take the Fg from above, and then we bring it down, and we put it into the Fc equation, which is Fc equals mv squared over r. And we want to solve for v. So the way we do that is we can actually rearrange it first. The r is this radius, this distance from here to here. That is the distance from Saturn to its moon, or from the Earth to its moon, for whatever. That's the distance, it's the radius of the orbit. It's the radius of the orbit. And the orbit is actually more circular than this. It's slightly elliptical, but it's definitely more circular than this. So the radius is relatively uniform as the moon goes around. So we can rearrange it. So here's the original equation. Fc equals the mass of the object times the velocity of the object squared, divided by the radius of the turn. This is the radius of the turn. So if I multiply each side by r, then it will cancel this out. And I get Fc times r equals mv squared. And then if I divide each side by m, this m will cancel this m. And so let's continue it over here. And I'm just going to flip them around just so it's, I don't know, just kind of how we usually do it. So you now have v squared equals f times c times the radius. Sorry, fc, not f times c. Fc times radius divided by the mass. And the last thing we want to do is we want to get rid of the square. So how do I get rid of the square? I square root it. And so I'm going to square root both sides. And if I do that, square rooting gets rid of that square, and you end up with the final equation. V equals the square root of the force, which is the centripetal force, which happens to be the same as the force of the gravity from the previous equation, times the radius, which happens to be the radius of the orbit, divided by the mass. Now there's two masses given. There's the mass of Saturn, and there's the mass of the moon. The question is, which one are we talking about going around in a circle? We're talking about the moon going around in a circle. So that's how you solve for the velocity there. And if you have any other questions on this or any other question, then go ahead and let me know. I hope this helped.